Hi, I'm Jochen Schleser from Schleser Saddlery Service. Today I'd like to talk to you about the 9 points of saddle fitting for the Western saddle. My passion is to protect horse and rider from long-term damage. I see a lot of people out there to fit their horses but unintentionally hurt the horses. My focus is doing research on horses' back with experts around the world with biomechanics for horse and rider, as well as a lot of scientific research. I want to simplify it with the 9 points of saddle fit for the Western saddle. So please join me and let's go through the step one by one. So before we get going and go into the individual 9 points of saddle fitting, I'd like to draw your attention to the horse's back. I have drawn a figure here what humans use since 4,500 years and figured out where the horse can carry the most weight for a long period. I like to also point out the modern technology, what our grandfathers knew, what areas is extremely sensitive to the horse. The flank area is where absolutely no pressure should be. Now the difference between pressure and contact I will go into a little bit later through the individual stops. Between each vertebrae there are nerves and veins coming out, and we don't want to hit those nerves. So the channel is very important, which we address later on as well. Probably the worst area for the horse to experience any kind of pressure is in this triangle right through here. We don't want any pressure in this area. I'm going to go more in detail when we talk about the tree width and the tree angle. So the next area, what is very important, is this point right here. Very important for endurance riders or long distance riders. This is the MP13, the lung meridian point. If the saddle pressure is there too much, the horse will not use their full breathing, and as a competitive rider, as a trail rider, as a hobby rider, that's not what I want to do to my horse. Same stuff your ears are made of, cartilage. It's a huge blob of cartilage on top of every horse's shoulder blade, and that is something we do not want to damage. So you see there's a lot of red, but you also see there's an area right here. That's the area where we're going to focus when we go through the 9 points of saddle. As you can see here in the saddle support area I drew, I have these flexible curves, and when I put this on top of the withers, right on the spine, you see that the bubble is balanced. Then I have, in another form, you can see right here how it sits contact all the way through, and then it flares up over the cartilage and here in the area which is very sensitive. And you see again, my bubble is balanced. So when we talk about balance for the horse and for the rider in the Western saddle, we need to see first what angle is the saddle support area. Here we have two different pelvises, one male, one female pelvis. When I, or you, anybody who have learned to walk on two legs as a human, we learn how to balance ourselves. And when we balance ourselves, very often the top part of our vertebrae is balanced in space. So this pelvis right now is balanced. So if I want to have my rider balanced over the widest area on the horse's back, right here, that is how this pelvis would be balanced. Now if I'm going to put a different pelvis on, a female pelvis, we look at the top of the vertebrae, and that's how the balance of the female rider would be. So the saddle now has to be the interface between the horse's back and the rider's pelvis. The interface between horse and rider is the saddle. Inside the saddle is the tree. This saddle tree has not fitted to this horse, but I wanted to show you quick the bars, the swell, and the cantle. The cantle comes in different heights. The swell comes in different forms. What is important is where you're sitting on, right between the two bars. Where my hand is right now, there will be a ground seat. It is formed out of leather, metal, plastic, out of all kinds of material saddlery uses today. So with all these different swells we have, I like you to focus more is the ground seat level, so you can do your walk, your trot, and your lope. This saddle is balanced on the horse. You can see here the rider sitting on the saddle, the vertebrae is balanced, and he can easily pivot back and forth without being pushed one way or the other. So what we want to do is we want to put the pen on the saddle, and if the saddle and the pen is balanced, that's a good way to look at it. Remember what I was mentioning earlier? The cantle comes in various heights and the swirl comes in different shapes. If the saddle is out of balance and it's too low in front, the rider gets pushed forward onto the shoulder, put massive pressure in the wither area. Besides uncomfortable for you, you put a lot of pressure onto the shoulder, what causes the horse to stumble and long-term damage. If the saddle is too high in front and too low in back, all the pressure will be falling back. You're sitting on your pockets in the back of the cantle, and you're sitting in the red area, in the lumbar area, which is very painful for the horse. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you find these tips very helpful. This is my calling, my passion. I like to protect horse and riders from long-term damage. Everything I showed you here, if it's your own horse, if it's your Olympic horse, if it's your pleasure horse, you will see he will be thanking you by you knowing more where the saddle can and should not sit. Thank you very much.